All right, Corey. Last team, Minnesota.
All right, so with the Vikings, I'll start saying Mike Zimmer. I really like him as a coach. I think he's a great defensive coach. He's done an overall pretty good job with the Vikings. He's got them extremely close. But I do think he's on the hot seat this year. They were at the point from being a Super Bowl. They made that run and just came up short. So I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be given to get that Vikings team there. How much of that falls on Zimmer versus some of the personnel decisions, I don't know. May not be fair to him necessarily, but I think that's just the reality of the situation in Minnesota. The offense, they do have weapons, obviously. Their trio with Thielen, Cook, and Jefferson is up there with any three in the league, I would argue. Jefferson has definitely replaced Stephon Diggs seamlessly somehow. And Diggs is a really good receiver, explosive guy. Irv Smith is the hot name for tight ends for fantasy football this year. So we'll see if he can replace Kyle Rudolph. Rudolph was a very productive guy for the Vikings over the years and reliable. So, we'll see if Smith can step in and fill that role. Again, whether it's fair or not, things are going to fall on Kirk Cousins' shoulders again. Their line needs to play better than it did last year, but the story of this team is going to be Kirk Cousins. They paid him $80 million in free agency to come in, and Cousins hasn't helped himself by fairly consistently struggling when the spotlight's on him in big games, primetime games. So, he's got weapons. He's got to produce with them. When it comes to the defense, they did have some free agent signings. They added Tomlinson, Weatherly, Patrick Peterson. We'll see if he has anything left in the tank. They brought back Sheldon Richardson. Defense is also Zimmer's specialty, so he's going to have to get it to play better. We'll see what that looks like. Like divisionally, he gets golf twice a year. That should be helpful for the defense. They kind of lucked out season-wise, schedule-wise, because they get the Bears at the end of the season, so they'll likely be facing Fields instead of Dalton. So they didn't really catch a break there. At a minimum, I think they'll be a little better than last year, but I don't know how much better. Overall, I don't have a lot of faith in them. Again, so how much does Patrick Peterson have left in the tank? Is the window closed on that defense from how dominant it was just a few years ago? It's not going to surprise me if this team struggles. I mean, on the flip side, if they were to rally, make a wild card spot, it wouldn't shock me. But I'm not high on them. I would be more surprised for them to make the playoffs than to not. And I think they're going to be facing some real questions going into the offseason of you try to bring in another coach and rally with this roster, or is it time to blow things up and try for a rebuild? And I am going 4-13 for them this year.
What? Corey is making a bold statement. Gosh. All right. The Minnesota Vikings. Mike Zimmer is a good coach, but obviously is up and down coach of the Vikings. They did miss the playoffs last year, but I think this year he wants to get back. He's known as a great defensive coordinator, and I think the Giants need to make that step on that side of the ball. Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. I mean, they drafted Kellen Mond, but that's not going to – I don't think he's going to be – Kirk Cousins is going to be the quarterback for 2 seasons. He signed on – I think he's a free agent in 2023. So this season and then 2022 season. But the running backs are solid. Dalvin Cook, Madison Anderson, man, they're like 2 peas in a pod, man. They're just phenomenal running backs. Um, then we have offensive line. They needed help last year. They have Christian Darrisaw, who's going to help out with depth. Um, Irv Smith looks like he's trying to make the name for himself as one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He's getting a lot of buzz this year. The receiving core, I mean, you can't ask for two better receivers than Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Jefferson is a dynamic receiver, and Adam Thielen just complements any good receiver, man. He's just Adam Thielen is a really good receiver, man. Defensive line, Dalvin Tomlinson, Daniel Hunter. Now, can Daniel Hunter repeat the 2019, right? Where he dominated. Their linebacker core is good. Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks. But I read today that from a beat reporter, their depth behind that is very questionable. So they have to depend on those guys to be healthy. Um, and their defensive backs, I mean, they're good. Bashan Beelan is a nice veteran. I like him. And Patrick Peterson, man, is the other side. Let's see if Patrick Peterson is trying to reestablish himself in, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And then you got Harrison Smith, who can do it all. He's one of those safeties. He can be in a box. He can cover. Phenomenal talent. Overall prediction: the Viking team, they're gonna have to depend on defense, which is in Mike Zimmer's wheelhouse. But Kirk Cousins is gonna have to elevate his play. If the defense and Kirk Cousins step up, I can see them back in the playoffs. I just don't see that happening. I got the Vikings going 8-9 for this year. All right, Craig, what you got with the Vikings?
All right, it's the last team. So, yeah, Mike Zimmer. I think he's a solid middle of the road coach. His last since he's been in Minnesota, he's gone no playoffs, playoffs, no playoffs, playoffs, no playoffs, playoffs, no playoffs. So you would think this year he's poised to make the playoffs since that's how it's been going for him every year that he's been there. So, I think he has a team that could make the playoffs. They have talent. Definitely Kirk Cousins, like he puts up really, really good numbers. 35 touchdowns last year. The year before he had single digit picks. He's just not getting the job done. Like Corey said, when the lights are bright, he just doesn't really step up, and you just don't see that level of improvement and that level of just like ability that he has or he has shown when the lights are just like he's just like in a regular 1 o'clock game, not on national TV or something like that. So he just has to play a lot better, obviously. He definitely has the talent around him. Like you can't ask, like you said, you can't ask for better wide receivers than Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Irv Smith obviously is there. And then you combine that with arguably the best or one of the best running backs in Dalvin Cook. You just give him the ball, just let him do his thing. So he definitely has talent. Even before with Justin Jefferson, before he got there, they obviously had Stephon Diggs. So he's always had wide receivers to throw the ball to. I think Adam Thielen's probably obviously his favorite. That rapport that he has with him. So I'm not really concerned about their offense too much, except for what is Kirk Cousins going to do in the bigger moments? Can he actually come through in the clutch in the biggest moments? Especially when that team needs to get into the playoffs or they're playing the Packers on Monday Night Football or something like that. Like, what's he going to do then? So, I think the offense should be fairly fine. It's the defense that I think a lot of people are looking towards. I think their defense is they have names. I just think it's kind of maybe middle of the road, I guess. Stephen Weatherly, Anthony Barr, Eric Kendricks. Like these are names people have heard of. Patrick Wood's still there. They bring back Bashar Breeland, or they get Bashar Breeland, I should say. Harrison Smith. Like the secondary looks on paper like it's going to be solid, like really, really solid. Even the linebackers, they look solid. So it's just I want to see pretty much this team goes as far as Kirk Cousins is going to go. If he steps up, has one of those really good magical seasons like they had with the whole I think when they played the Saints in that playoff game. They pretty much, well, unless they get the Saints in the first round or whatever in the playoffs, they're not going to win. But because they've beaten the Saints the last couple of times, so unless they get that team, I don't know. But I do think this team has the talent to make the playoffs. Like I said, they're poised to make the playoffs with the way Zimmer's record's been going. So overall, though, I think I have them finishing above 500, but barely. I got them finishing 9-8. I think there's too much talent on this team to not win at least 8 or 9 games, and I just think that they're going to make somewhat of a run, but it's going to come up short to make the playoffs. So this is going to be, I guess, his first time that he doesn't make it after not making it the year before. But overall, like I said, I just think Kirk Cousins is that guy that's going to have to really step up again this year, and he's got paid for being. He wanted the money, he got paid, and this is his time to actually step up. And like I think he could be like a sleeper MVP candidate. Like I have him as a sleeper MVP candidate because of the talent around him. So I got him going 9-8 though.
Okay. Yeah, Minnesota's an interesting team, man.
Yeah.
So they're hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Corey, 3 or 4.
If they were to win 10 games, I wouldn't be shocked, but just the way things broke down with their schedule, and so they brought in guys defensively, but is depth going to be there?
Yeah.
Can you trust Kirk Cousins? I don't know.
Yeah. Damn. It's going to be interesting.
But I do think they are reaching the point. Thielen's been around a while. A number of their guys on defense have been around a while. That if they don't make a deep run this year, they're going to have to start asking some questions. That is it time to maybe sell off a few of those older pieces and go into a little bit of a mini rebuild.
Kind of blow it up. Okay.